Ever since that young alpha moved in across the street, my luck had been absurdly good. Promotion, money, dead husband. He held me in his arms as if comforting me and said, "Your husband's finally dead. That's great news." "That's not what I meant to say," he quickly added. Then, almost sheepishly, "Also, I do apologize for accidentally firing 12 rounds. I'll make it up to you. After all, since I killed your husband, it's only fair I provide you with a new one. Can I call you my husband now? I noticed your husband used to call you that." Welcome to History Channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. Ever since the young alpha moved in next door, my luck had been strangely phenomenal. Promotion, the bonus, and then a dead husband. He held me in his arms with a strangely comforting tone and said, "Your husband's finally dead. That's great." "That's not what I meant," he corrected himself with a soft laugh. "I'm also terribly sorry for accidentally firing 12 shots. I'll make it up to you. Since I killed your husband, it's only fair I compensate you with a new one. Can I call you my husband now? I believe that's what your husband used to call you." I was carrying a bag of groceries into the elevator when I ran into the young alpha from next door for the third time. Today, he wore a sleek black trench coat. The fabric looked expensive, the cut perfect. There was a faint scent lingering around him, clean, crisp, quietly intoxicating. I instinctively stepped back out of courtesy, but my gaze was drawn to a tiny red mole on the pale skin of his neck. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then I snapped out of it and quickly looked away, flustered. We exited the elevator one after the other. As I fumbled for my keys, I heard a clear voice behind me. "Hey! Huh! Are you making wings again today?" The plastic bag in my hand was transparent, the raw chicken wings clearly visible. I nodded. "Yeah. Why?" He stared at me, a slight smile tugging at his lips. His face was far too beautiful, almost surreal, but that expression made it feel alive. "Mind if I join you for dinner?" An already married Omega inviting a stranger Alpha into his home for dinner? Definitely not a good idea. He noticed my hesitation. His pheromones brushed against my nose like a whisper, coaxing. "I'll pay you," he added, his voice low and tempting. It was hard to say no to that face. I nodded, finally. "All right." Then quickly added a silent excuse to myself. I could use the extra money. He followed me inside. After taking off his coat, he revealed the black turtleneck underneath, snug at the waist, broad across the chest. The air around him shimmered with pheromones, thick and heady. He leaned against the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching me cook. The steam from the pot made my face feel hot. "Need any help?" he asked. "You're the guest. You should be on the B couch. I mean the couch." My slip-up made him chuckle. He walked over and gently took the bok choy out of my hands. "I can wash this." "Let me." In the cramped kitchen, we stood shoulder to shoulder. It was the first time someone helped me while I cooked. The feeling was oddly nice. His scent surrounded me. His eyes flicked to the wedding ring on my finger. "You're married?" he asked casually. "Yes." "Your husband doesn't seem to be around much. I've been living next door a while and haven't seen him." "He's busy with work." "Oh, what does he do?" That question caught me off guard. Chris Albert rarely came home. He never told me what he actually did for work. I'd asked once. His response was to lash out at me. "I didn't marry you to have you bossing me around like some damn ancestor. I married you to bear me a kid." Thinking the alpha next door was just curious, I answered honestly with a shake of my head. "I don't know." He turned his face slightly to study me, staring for 2 long seconds as if weighing the truth of my words. Finally, he tilted his lips into a faint smirk. "Sounds like things aren't so great between you two." I ended up making 5 dishes and a soup, enough to last me 3 days, all served in one sitting. I looked at him nervously. "Not sure if it's to your taste." If he didn't like it, there'd be too many leftovers. That'd be my meals for the next several days, cold, reheated plates of disappointment. Just like it had always been growing up. A family of 6, and I was the eldest brother. I started cooking when I was 15, but no matter how hard I tried, someone always had a complaint. Too salty. Too bland. Not enough meat. Too greasy. My parents argued constantly over meals. No one had much of an appetite, and I'd be left sitting alone at the table, staring at all the food I'd worked so hard to prepare. Sam Alexander seemed confused by my question. Huh. Then, like a storm, he devoured every last grain of rice in the pot. He looked satisfied, lips curled. I want wings again tomorrow. I looked at him. A strange warmth bloomed in my chest, comforting, unfamiliar, whole. I couldn't help but laugh. But you just had wings today. Then tomorrow we'll have cola wings. That's fine. Wait, when did I agree to? Can I get a monthly meal plan? I blinked. We'd both just set down our chopsticks, and he was already picking up the last piece of lotus root. He looked at me seriously. Your cooking is really good. Really, really good. And so, Sam Alexander and I naturally fell into a routine. We became long-term dinner companions. One day, just as I entered the community gate with groceries in hand, he called me. Tim Marshall. The way he said my name was different from anyone else, soft, with a trailing lilt that danced on my eardrum. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. Yeah, I'll be home late tonight. If dinner's ready, eat without me. Don't wait. All right. I passed by the fruit store at the gate. There were fresh apples at the entrance. I glanced at the price but didn't stop. Then, unable to help myself, I asked, Sam Alexander, do you like apples? I do. After the call ended, I stood there for 2 seconds and walked back. By the time he arrived, I was cutting vegetables in the kitchen. He walked in peeling an apple, smiling. I knew you'd buy them. How did you know? Because I said I liked them. You're too good to me, I replied, voice soft with a teasing lilt. Before I could react, a slice of pale apple flesh was already at my lips. Open. My hands were busy, so I opened my mouth and bit into it, my lips brushing his fingertip. His face remained composed, but his long lashes fluttered. For the fish, do you want it boiled or fried? All right. Stop feeding me or I'll burst, I muttered. Sam Alexander's eyes lingered on my face. His glassy irises held something flickering just out of reach. When he spoke again, his voice had a faint, husky edge. The last dish was set on the table by Sam Alexander. I washed my hands and was just about to grab a pair of chopsticks when my phone suddenly rang. The caller ID made my heart jolt. I wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it, but water droplets on my fingers made the screen betray me. The call connected. I steeled myself and spoke. Hello. Took you long enough. What the hell are you doing? His tone was as aggressive as ever. Cooking. Really cooking? At that moment, Sam Alexander walked into the kitchen, about to call my name. Panicking, I turned and covered his mouth with my hand. The soft, damp warmth of his lips pressed against my palm. My heartbeat was racing so fast I could no longer tell whether it was fear of Chris Albert or something else entirely. You're not sneaking around behind my back, are you? I looked up and met Sam Alexander's emotionless gaze, swallowed hard, and said, No. Good. I've got a lot of trouble on my plate lately. Not convenient to stay in touch. Behave yourself at home. Don't forget, I paid good money to buy you. Sam Alexander shifted, backing me into the corner of the kitchen. Our bodies pressed close together. I could feel the powerful thud of his heart with every breath he took. His pheromones flooded over me, overwhelming. Even his slight movement, accidentally brushing against my lower body, felt unbearably intimate. My Adam's apple bobbed as I answered quietly, All you ever do is send that? Chris Albert snapped. Can't you say something nice for once? What a mood killer. What do you want me to say? Call me husband. Just so you don't forget who you belong to. I opened my mouth, but in front of Sam Alexander, for some reason, the word wouldn't come out. I hesitated. Suddenly, a large hand pressed firmly against my lower back. I gasped as I was pulled straight into Sam Alexander's arms. Our bodies fit tightly together. My heart slammed against my ribs, drenched in the clean, pale scent of white tea. Chris Albert urged impatiently, "Tim Marshall, are you mute now? Don't make me angry." Painful memories surged up, beatings, insults, fear carved deep into my bones. My body trembled despite myself. I had no choice but to whisper, "Husband." The arm around my waist tightened uncontrollably, squeezing the air from my lungs, almost crushing me. And the call ended. "You? Why?" I started. "There's water all over the sink." His voice was calm, without emotion. His eyes, however, were cold. He released me slowly, retreating back to the distance he usually kept. It was still close, but after an embrace, everything else felt far. My thoughts were a tangled mess. I looked up at his blank expression and sensed he wasn't in a good mood. "Are you angry?" I asked. He took out his phone and sent someone a message. When he heard me, he lazily lifted his eyes. "Am I that embarrassing? Am I the other man?" No, I said quickly. "You're my good friend." His brow twitched. He didn't look any happier. "Oh. Then why are you so scared of your husband finding out?" The question left me at a loss. I couldn't even give myself a convincing answer. Was it fear of Chris Albert? Or because I had already crossed a line in my heart and felt guilty? "He has a bad temper," I said softly. "If he misunderstands, he'll lose his temper badly." "And what happens when he does?" Sam Alexander asked. I recoiled from the question and fell silent. In those few seconds, something seemed to dawn on him. "He hits you." I didn't want to lie to Sam Alexander. Awkward and humiliated, I nodded. "Yeah." A crack appeared in his hardened expression. Something spilled out from his eyes, an emotion so raw that it made the always composed Sam Alexander look unmistakably pained. In the quiet air, pheromones fluctuated, restrained with effort. Then he forced a semblance of ease back onto his face. His fingers brushed past my cheek, cool to the touch, half comfort, half as if brushing away dust. "To treat you like that? Unforgivable." "Tim Marshall," he said quietly, "you deserve the very best." Do I really deserve the best? What I'd heard most growing up was my father saying, "You're such an ordinary Omega. What university do you think you're fit for? Save the money for your younger brother. Chris Albert is paying us $120,000. You should be grateful. Who else would spend that much to marry you?" Every word was a reminder of my cheapness, my insignificance. I watched Sam Alexander's back as he left, my feet following him unconsciously. He turned just in time. I nearly collided with his chest, yet I didn't want to step back. "Oh right," he said. "Tim Marshall, do you like dogs?" I looked up, eyes lighting up. "Dogs?" "Yeah. I'm busy with work and can't take care of one properly. Could you help me look after him?" "Yes, of course." I'd loved dogs for as long as I could remember. But whether in my childhood home or after marriage, I'd never been allowed to have a little life of my own. The number of freeloaders eating at my place kept increasing. The little dog Sam Alexander mentioned turned out to be an 80-pound German Shepherd, squatting at my feet, its fluffy tail slapping my calves until they itched and hurt. I bent down and coaxed it gently. "All right, Mengme. Dinner when your dad gets home, okay?" It tilted its head, as if it understood. Sure enough, Sam Alexander's dog was smarter than most. The sound of a keypad unlocking came from the door. Joy surged through me. "Sam, why is there an extra dog in the house?" Chris Albert stepped inside, his shoes dirtying the new rug I'd just bought. He looked at me with displeasure. My smile froze. The joy vanished instantly, replaced by panic. Instinctively, I moved to shield Meng Meng behind me. I'm watching a coworker's dog. He's on a business trip for 2 days. "A coworker?" he asked as he walked into the kitchen. "Male or female?" The cramped space made my chest feel tight. "An Omega." "I'm not home and you cook all this food by yourself?" "Yeah. This way it'll last 2 days. I won't have to cook again." He didn't say anything more. Instead, he pinned me against the sink, his hands sliding onto my waist. My scalp prickled. "Miss your husband?" The smell of lust rushed toward me. I panicked. Terrified he might actually do something. Terrified Sam Alexander might walk in and see. As I struggled to push him away, the sound of the keypad came again. Chris Albert and I both looked over. He shot me a suspicious glance, then stormed over and yanked the door open. Sam Alexander froze mid-motion, his hands still raised over the keypad. The two men came face to face. Hostile pheromones collided instantly. "Who the fuck are you?" Chris Albert snarled. "Why are you entering my house password?" Sam Alexander's gaze passed over Chris Albert's shoulder and landed on me. Our eyes met. I was so anxious tears nearly spilled over, shaking my head desperately at him in silent pleading. Chris Albert turned back and grabbed my arm, yanking me forward until I stumbled. "You wouldn't be sneaking around behind my back at home, would you?" Sam Alexander looked at my expression, his brows knitting slightly. He closed his eyes, took a slow breath, then spoke. "I'm from the gas company. I'm here to inspect the safety of the gas lines." "Gas inspection?" Chris Albert snapped, gripping my arm hard. "Then how the hell do you know my house password?" He glared at me viciously. "You think I'm stupid? Tim Marshall explained this to me. So while I'm not home, you're bringing your lover right into my house?" "He's not my lover." I was used to Chris Albert's shouting, his insults and humiliation, but I would not let him speak that way about Sam Alexander. I had never raised my voice at Chris Albert like this before. The shout stunned him for a moment. Before he could spew something even uglier, Sam Alexander stepped calmly inside. "Our recent inspections have all been scheduled during the day," he said evenly. "Mr. Marshall is usually at work, so no one's home to open the door. That's why he gave us the password, to make our work more convenient." Every word landed perfectly, composed and unflustered. Chris Albert's suspicious gaze shifted from my furious face back to Sam Alexander. In the end, he let out a mocking snort. "Figures. Someone like him wouldn't look twice at a married Omega with no money and no looks like you." Then his tone softened abruptly. "All right, husband was wrong to suspect you." As he spoke, he pulled me into his arms, his hands immediately turning crude, kneading my chest, sliding over my waist and abdomen. Over his shoulder, I looked towards Sam Alexander as he walked into the kitchen. The red mole I always noticed on the side of his neck jumped subtly with the pulse of his veins. One hand was tucked into the pocket of his trench coat. His back was silent, solemn, so heavy it made my chest tighten with unease. "Don't do this," I whispered. "Someone's here." "He'll leave in a minute," Chris Albert scoffed. "What's wrong with getting intimate with my own wife?" His hand slipped under the hem of my clothes. Right in front of Sam Alexander, shame and humiliation burned through me. "Stop it!" Chris Albert tightened his grip on me and barked impatiently. "You done yet? How long is this inspection supposed to take?" "All done," Sam Alexander replied. His voice was calm, too calm. There was something ominous beneath it, the kind of stillness that set off every instinct warning of danger. I saw the hand in his coat pocket move, just about to come out, when suddenly, Chris Albert's phone rang like a death knell. The suffocating tension froze in place. Sam Alexander stopped moving. "Hello? What?" They caught him. Damn it. Those corrupt bastards in the Alliance, always cutting off people's livelihoods. "Got it. I'm on my way." He hung up. Realizing he was leaving, I quietly let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. He released me, then pointed a finger at me in warning. "I'm heading out. Behave yourself at home." "You hear me?" Just when I thought I was finally free, he grabbed my chin unwillingly and planted a rough kiss on the side of my face. The image burned itself into Sam Alexander's eyes cold as tempered ice. Chris Albert left. I stood there stiffly, my chest tight, breath stuck halfway. It hurt so badly I wanted to cry. Why did it have to be today? Why did Sam Alexander have to see me like this? My nails dug into my palm. I didn't dare look at his expression as I stammered an apology. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he'd come back so suddenly." Footsteps stopped in front of me. Pheromones rippled in the air, then were forcefully restrained by their owner. "Look up." I obeyed instinctively. Calloused fingers touched my cheek, rubbing slowly, over and over, pressing harder and harder until my pale skin flushed red. He lowered his eyes, expressionless, carefully wiping away every trace of that disgusting touch. My heart finally loosened. In his hands, I found a fragile sense of safety. Thank goodness. Thank goodness Sam Alexander didn't hate me. If you accidentally get something dirty on you, he said quietly, you just wipe it clean. What's there to apologize for? It's not your fault. Chris Albert's sudden return was a warning bell. A reminder of just how dangerous my relationship with Sam Alexander was. And yet, every time I looked at Sam Alexander smiling gently as he spoke to me, I found myself utterly unable to make the decision to cut things off. Like someone walking on thin ice, terrified, cautious, but still clinging desperately to fleeting happiness. His hand waved in front of my face, pulling me back to reality. There's something I want to talk to you about. What is it? I'm out of money this month, he said casually. So, can I use this to pay for my meals? He handed me a velvet-wrapped box. I opened it to find a watch, understated, luxurious, refined. Not flashy. Just exquisitely made. Try it on. I wanted to say it was unnecessary. That even without money, he could still come eat. But this was something Sam Alexander gave me. And selfishly, I wanted it. I wanted to keep it. It fit my wrist perfectly. Sam Alexander curved his lips slightly. Looks good. I accepted it. That night, I placed it by my bedside, unable to stop looking at it, touching it. It fits so well, could it be? The thought made my heart race. I scolded myself for being narcissistic, yet still reached out, curling my fingers around it, smiling as I fell asleep. The first cold wave of the year hit, and my luck ran out. I got sick. While I lay weakly in bed, the bedroom door was pushed open. Sam Alexander stepped inside wearing a simple set of gray loungewear. The high-quality fabric outlined his body beautifully. He bent down and pressed a hand to my forehead. You're burning up. Why didn't you call me? I was surprised, completely overlooking how he knew I had a fever. You don't have work today? No. He wrung out a towel and laid it over my forehead, then crouched beside my bed, carefully examining the medicine boxes I'd taken. As he looked, his brows furrowed slightly. This medicine won't help with a fever like this. Why would you take it without asking a doctor? It sounded like scolding, but his tone was gentle. Maybe my brain was fried from the fever, because without thinking I reached out, wanting to smooth the crease in his brow. Just a hair's breadth away. He lifted his eyes to me. The clarity of his gaze snapped me back to my senses. My hand froze awkwardly midair. Just as I was about to pull back, he caught my fingertips. The world stopped. Cool skin met burning heat. Our breaths tangled, close and intimate. Someone's heartbeat sped up, I didn't know whose. Closer. Still closer. Our noses brushed. My throat burned. Like rain after drought, relief hovered right at my lips, ready to be taken. Then suddenly, the sound of a password being entered rang out at the door. Like a blow to the head, I was dragged straight from heaven into hell. Last time, we'd barely scraped by. This time, if Chris Albert found out, what would he do to me? I snapped back to reality, forcing my aching body upright. Grabbing Sam Alexander, I pulled him toward the wardrobe. Please, hide for a bit, okay? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But he absolutely cannot find out. Just for a moment. Just a little while, Sam Alexander. He looked down at me, his expression icy. Footsteps drew closer. My heart was pounding in my throat. The fear Chris Albert instilled in me left no room for thought. I could only push Sam Alexander toward the wardrobe. I'm begging you. Please don't make a sound. Please. Finally, just before Chris Albert pushed open the bedroom door, I shoved the stiff, unmoving Sam Alexander into the wardrobe and slammed it shut. Chris Albert stumbled into the room smelling of alcohol, the stench making my stomach churn. What are you doing? He slurred. Looking like this. I'm sick. I just wanted to get out of bed and drink some water. Sick? He sounded surprised. If you're sick, why didn't you tell me? His steps me back until I fell onto the bed. He was already kicking off his shoes, shrugging out of his clothes. He reached out and touched my arm. So hot. I have a fever. He laughed, the smell of alcohol filling the room. I know. That's why I'm here, to help you cool off. Once you sweat it out, you'll be fine. Last time I had things to deal with. Didn't get to really spend some quality time with you. As he spoke, his hands slid over my cheek, my neck, trying to slip beneath my clothes. Wife, you smell so good. My gaze fell on the wardrobe door, silent, unmoving. A crushing wave of shame and humiliation surged up, so strong it nearly made me cry. Don't let Sam Alexander see me like this. It's disgusting. So disgusting it makes me feel insane. I pushed him with all my strength. I'm sick. You can't do this. Stop. Chris Albert didn't listen at all. He reached for my pants. Must be really hot. It's best when it's hot. Don't move around. Chris Albert. I struggled wildly, arms and legs flailing. He hissed in pain, his expression turning vicious. You little slut. I'm fucking you, that's only natural. Don't fucking pretend you're pure, you've done it before. Don't say that. Don't let Sam Alexander hear words like that. It felt like my heart was being stabbed over and over. My knee, braced desperately against his lower abdomen, was forced apart. I cried out in pain. No! Moaning like that, his movement froze abruptly. His entire body collapsed heavily onto mine. Sam Alexander had withdrawn his hand. With a face full of disgust, he grabbed Chris Albert by the collar and yanked him off me, throwing him aside. I gasped for air like someone pulled back from the brink of death. Then the sorrow hit. Overwhelming and unbearable, I buried my face in the blanket. Why couldn't even that small, secret bit of happiness be left to me? Why did it always have to be this filthy, this ugly, right in front of Sam Alexander? The pain burned behind my eyes, until a hand gently pulled my face out of the bedding. He didn't speak. That indifferent face looked like a god passing judgment from on high. All I could do was wait. A single tear slid into his palm. We stared at each other in silence, emotions roiling beneath the surface. I turned my head away, unable to meet his eyes. I'm sorry. You should go back. You should go. Don't worry about... He suddenly kissed me hard. My eyes flew open. I pushed at him in a daze, making him stop. Not allowed, he asked softly. I stared at him in shock. No, why? He kissed me again, swallowing every word in my throat. Lips and tongues tangled, deep and relentless. When I was nearly out of breath, he shifted slightly. Then his mouth moved to my cheek, my neck, biting, sucking, leaving mark after mark. Air rushed back into my lungs, only to be stolen again by a new wave of conquest. I looked at Sam Alexander's brows and eyes, and something reckless bloomed in my chest. I wanted more. Closer. I wanted him to crush me into his arms, to take me apart completely. Lost in the haze, my gaze accidentally flicked to Chris Albert lying on the floor. His body twitched unconsciously. Panic shot through me. I clenched Sam Alexander's collar tightly. I didn't know how long we'd been kissing. Sam Alexander pulled back slightly. We were still incredibly close. His beautiful eyes were filled with desire, making his refined face dangerously alluring. My heart pounded wildly. He pressed his forehead to mine, then reached down and lifted me up. We're going to the hospital. He turned to leave. I glanced at Chris Albert on the floor, hesitation creeping in. What about him? If he wakes up like this, he'll definitely realize something's wrong. Sam Alexander clicked his tongue impatiently and shifted his grip, pulling me so I was facing him, hanging against his body. My calves rested against his waist. He supported me effortlessly with one arm. With the other, he grabbed Chris Albert by the collar and tossed him onto the bed. He wrapped a blanket around me. My face was buried in his neck, yet I could still sense other people in the elevator. Our posture was improper. No one asked, but Sam Alexander explained anyway. My partner is sick. That's why. Someone let out an "oh," and I recognized the voice. It was Aunt Jo from upstairs. I buried my face even deeper, my heart tightening sharply. For a moment, I couldn't tell whether I was afraid of being caught in an affair or moved by the word partner. The foredrip contained something mildly sedating. I slept heavily in fragments. Every time I woke, Sam Alexander was there by my bed, asking softly, "Do you want some water? Did you have a bad dream? Do you want to keep sleeping?" A warm current wrapped around me, spreading through every part of my body. This was the happiest illness I had ever had. But dreams always end. Illness always passes. Chris Albert called. He was furious. "What the hell is going on? Where the fuck are you? Where did you run off to? You were drunk and passed out. I was really sick. I'm hospitalized." He snorted. How serious could it be? Hospital bills are expensive. "When are you coming back?" The doctor said, "A few days." "A few days?" He exploded. "You doing this on purpose?" I finally came back. I listened to his impatient voice, opened my mouth, and said, "Chris Albert, maybe we should get a divorce." Divorce? A storm of curses exploded on the other end. At that moment, Sam Alexander returned with a lunchbox. I covered the phone more tightly, not wanting him to hear those filthy words. He set the lunchbox on the table, and beside it, a bouquet of beautiful roses. My heart stirred. I looked up at him and smiled without thinking, earning a gentle kiss as he leaned down. Our lips touched lightly, then it wasn't enough. His tongue traced my lips, slipping inside, exploring. "Tim Marshall, you fucking have someone outside, don't you? That's why you're asking for a divorce." I patted Sam Alexander's chest, trying to get him to stop. He merely raised an eyebrow and kissed me deeper, leaving me no room even to breathe. Chris Albert roared through the phone, "I'm talking to you. Are you mute? What's that noise over there?" Seeing my face flush, Sam Alexander finally relented and pulled back. I breathed softly. "No." Chris Albert snorted. "I figured you didn't have the guts. Want a divorce? Sure. Pay back the money I gave your family. Otherwise, stop dreaming. Married 2 years and you haven't even given me a kid. You think it's that cheap? You think fucking me a few times is worth $120,000. I didn't want to say more in front of Sam Alexander. I only replied, "I understand." He said a few more things and hung up. I had wanted to talk to Sam Alexander about my decision to divorce. But he seemed utterly unconcerned, which made me uneasy. My thoughts spiraled. What if he didn't care at all? What if he only wanted an affair? Then maybe it was easier for him if I stayed married. Before I could think it through, food was already at my lips. More. "You lost so much weight being sick. So gentle. So gentle that whether it was real or not, I could only accept it all." After he fed me, I reached out to touch the roses by my bed. "You like them?" he asked. "Yeah. I like them." The first bouquet of flowers in my life, even if it was just a courtesy for visiting the sick. But because it was from Sam Alexander, it felt entirely different. His fingertips brushed lightly through my hair, then drifted down to the marks on the side of my neck. "If you like them," he said softly, "I'll bring you flowers often." I couldn't help burying my face in his palm, letting myself sink into the way his gaze wrapped around me. The mood was just right, until an urgent phone call pulled him away. He bent down and kissed me quickly. "Stay at the hospital. Wait for me. I'll be back soon. Be good." I let go of his hand and watched his back disappear from sight. His scent still lingered on me. And even after it faded, he still hadn't returned. By then, I'd already recovered. I was staying in the best private room, and I remembered him saying he was short on money. I didn't want to waste it, so I checked myself out. The roses came home with me and were placed by my bedside. They began to wilt. That was when I realized how unbearably long the days felt without Sam Alexander. That night, I jolted awake from a nightmare, drenched in cold sweat. Dream and reality overlapped. In the dream, Sam Alexander had also told me, on an ordinary morning like this, to wait for him. And then he vanished from my life, leaving me searching, circling endlessly, never to see him again. In a panic, I grabbed my phone. I suddenly wanted to ask him, when are you coming back? Or was he, just like in the dream, already tired of me? Tired of a married Omega like me? And done with the entanglement? The words spun and tangled in my mind. Tears splashed onto the phone screen. I couldn't catch my breath. Then, at that exact moment, I heard the sound of a password being entered at the door. Wild joy surged through my chest. I leapt out of bed and flung open the bedroom door, only to have every smile freeze on my face. Chris Albert had already taken off his coat and walked inside. "Seeing your husband back makes you that happy?" he sneered. He strode toward me. I kept retreating, step by step, but I didn't want to go into the bedroom. The bedroom made me think of things that made my stomach turn. Sensing my avoidance, he grabbed my wrist and shoved me onto the bed. "So fragrant, baby. Hurry up." I struggled violently beneath him. No, I don't want to." My resistance made it impossible for him to get what he wanted. His patience snapped, and he slapped me hard across the face. Once or twice I let it slide, but now you're really pushing it. He yanked my pants down to my knees. I said no. "Let go of me." As I fought back desperately, my throat suddenly tightened. His pheromones crushed down on me, my gland heating up, strength draining from my body. Chris Albert grinned cruelly as his hands roamed over me. "Go on, keep fighting. In a second you'll be in heat, begging me to fuck you." "You animal," I choked out. My body could no longer resist. Tears streamed down uncontrollably. The moment he pressed down on me, the nausea was so intense I started gagging. He forced my legs apart. Just as despair crashed over me like a tidal wave, I smelled it, that familiar white tea scent. I forced my eyes open. What I saw was Sam Alexander, his face twisted with fury as he burst in. "You again." Chris Albert was hauled up with one hand and slammed with a brutal punch, then thrown aside like trash. He tried to struggle back up, but the white tea pheromones crashed down like thunder. He screamed, curling on the floor, clutching his head. Sam Alexander scooped me up into his arms, his coat and body wrapping around my disheveled form. Tears slid from the corner of my eyes. Fear, longing, I couldn't tell which. "Tim Marshall." Hearing him say my name made my overheated body burn even hotter. I clenched his lapel tightly. I knew something was off. Chris Albert roared. "I'll kill you. You fucking slut." I could barely hear him anymore. I only knew one thing. Sam Alexander was back. He really came back. My body and mind were both at their limits. In his arms, I felt like I was melting. His hand brushed my cheek, then slid to the burning gland at the back of my neck. "Tim Marshall," he asked quietly, "is this okay?" If it was Sam Alexander, then anything was okay. Breathing shallowly, I nodded. He chuckled softly, bent down, and stared straight at Chris Albert on the floor. In Chris Albert's furious, powerless, humiliated gaze, Sam Alexander sank his canines, slowly and deliberately, into the back of my neck. His pheromones poured out, gentle, inescapable, melding with mine. The pleasure was so overwhelming it felt like my soul was leaving my body. Chris Albert screamed hoarsely, "Tim Marshall, you fucking whore! You dare cheat on me with some random man?" I felt like I was sinking into soft clouds. Even hearing Chris Albert's voice still triggered fear. So I clung tighter to Sam Alexander, my only anchor. Sam Alexander lifted me and stood before Chris Albert, sneering coldly. "Who are you calling a random man? I've marked him. From a biological standpoint. He's my Omega now. What right do you have to bark here?" Chris Albert froze, blood rushing to his head until his eyes turned red. His nan-scented pheromones surged, only to be crushed flat by white tea. "I'll never divorce Tim Marshall. If he dares cheat, I'll expose everything. You filthy adulterers deserve to drown in spit." His words snapped me back to reality. Anxiety crept in as I looked at Sam Alexander's profile. Would he hate being dragged into this shame with me? Sam Alexander's expression turned cold. My heart lurched. Then he spoke again. "And you still have the nerve to talk about staying married to my Omega? You shameless, nest-stealing dog." Chris Albert tried to speak again. Sam Alexander lost patience. Holding me, he walked straight out. His leather shoe stepped down hard on Chris Albert's fingers. The scream was cut off the moment the door slammed shut. He laid me gently on the bed, but I refused to let go of him. Maybe it was the long separation. Maybe it was fear of losing him again. Either way, I couldn't let go of this lifeline. The mark wasn't enough. My body and soul both craved him closer. Closer still. Save me again, like rain to a drought-stricken land. He bent down, held by my arms, soothing me urgently. I'm back. You're safe now, Tim Marshall. I'm here. His voice broke the dam. My tears fell even harder. Unable to move freely, he kissed my neck, warm breath brushing my skin, teeth closing gently around my earlobe. Tim Marshall, he murmured, are you planning to hold me like this all night? Yes. A large hand closed around my ankle, inch by inch, up to the back of my knee, my thigh, lingering at my waist and abdomen. Your pants are wet. Want to change? Yes. His fingers were long, knuckles defined, strikingly beautiful. What? Then too. Like stirring a pool of spring water. Ripples spread, broken by soft, fragmented sobs. You want it? He asked. For the first time, I felt no resistance at all. My unfocused eyes sharpened with urgency as I stared at Sam Alexander's clear, glassy gaze. Filled with desire, yet still impossibly gentle. I grabbed him in a rush and kissed him back. Yes. The night was loud, the world swaying. One hand crushed the pillow beneath it, wrinkling it, twisting it out of shape, tearing a seam open. White cotton spilled out, some seeming to be pushed inward, some spilling free. I couldn't see Sam Alexander's face clearly. I pushed at his waist and hips, but he didn't budge. Don't. Just a little longer, he murmured. Hang on. It'll be over soon. Even when I slipped into unconsciousness, that was what he was still saying. I woke up groggily in an unfamiliar room. The white tea scent around me made me feel safe. Enduring the soreness in my body, I looked around. The layout was similar to my place, but everything was sparse and clean. It didn't look lived in, more like a temporary residence. The bedroom door was ajar. Sam Alexander was moving about outside, wearing only a pair of gray lounge pants, bare-chested. My gaze traced over his broad chest, then followed the lines of his movement down to his tight waist and abdomen. Several scratch marks stood out vividly against his pale skin. He casually answered a call. Yeah, I know the evidence isn't sufficient. That's why I didn't act rashly. The injury's healed. Injury? I frowned, then remembered. Last night, there had indeed been a bandage wrapped around his calf. My heart jumped. He'd been injured and still pushed himself all night. Would that cause problems? When are you people going to work faster? He went on. I'm running out of patience. No need to change plans. I want to catch that bastard myself. As he spoke, his eyes suddenly flicked toward me. Caught peeking, I awkwardly looked away. He smiled. I'll hang up. My partner's awake. Yeah. Just got him. What's the rush? We'll talk after his husband's dead. He walked to the bed and kissed my forehead naturally. Awake? Hungry? What do you want to eat? I shook my head and hurriedly pulled him down to sit. Why your leg? Is it hurt? Want to check it yourself? You're joking, let me see. So worried about me? He teased. Laughing, he dodged my hands and pulled me into his arms. There's something I want to discuss with you. What is it? I still have some things to take care of, he said. So you'll have to stay here with me a little longer. Will that be okay? I nodded hard. I know you don't want to see that trash, he added. So try not to go out. I'll bring Meng Meng over to keep you company, all right? Meng Meng. My eyes lit up, remembering the big dog wagging its tail at my feet, warmth spreading through me. But then another thought surfaced. I grew serious and took his hand. I need to talk to Chris Albert. I have to divorce him. I can't let you be with me like this, unclear, without. My voice grew smaller the more I spoke. I felt ashamed toward Sam Alexander. He was so good. He deserved to be openly with someone just as good. After listening, his pupils shifted. Emotion shook his voice. So what you're saying is, you're giving me a title? Embarrassed, I nodded lightly. The next second, he pulled me into a fierce embrace, so tight my ribs ached, but solid enough to make me feel safe. Thank you, husband. My face burned. Then he added immediately, but you're not to see that bastard again. Not even once. My phone was about to explode. Calls and messages kept coming, from my parents, from my younger siblings. My father cursed me out. He said Chris Albert had gone to their house, demanding the money back. He said I had no shame, that I'd disgraced the family. That I'd caused them to be pointed at and whispered about, unable to hold their heads up. He told me to hurry back and apologize to Chris Albert, to live properly. I didn't know if he understood that if I went back, Chris Albert would beat me half to death. I think he did know. After all, in the second month of our marriage, Chris Albert had already broken my ribs once. I'd cried and begged my father to return the money, said I wanted a divorce. He refused. Staring at my phone, I felt hollow. So it really was possible for parents not to love their own children. Mengmeng sensed my mood. He flopped down beside my legs, rolling over to expose his belly. Even though he was huge, he loved to whine and act cute. I reached out to pet him. His warm tongue gave my hand a gentle lick, and somehow, the sorrow and disappointment were carried away by that soft warmth. The corners of my lips lifted unconsciously. I tossed my phone aside. Daddy's coming home soon, I said softly. Shall we go cook for Daddy together? If yes, wag your tail. The big tail swept against my calf, wagging enthusiastically. Good boy. Unfortunately, dinner was only half done when someone burst into the kitchen. Not helping like before, just causing chaos. I washed vegetables with one hand while guarding my pajama pants with the other. In the end, I was hoisted straight back to the bedroom. Sam Alexander pressed me down, his beautiful, firm waist and abdomen moving slowly. Dazed, I turned my head to look at him. My gland had been licked, so sensitive it made me tremble. Our bodies tangled like wild beasts. Sam Alexander held my sweat-soaked body close, kissing me with care, though his movements showed no mercy. Hey, he murmured, do me a favor tomorrow, okay? I was too tired to do more than move my eyes. What is it? He took a key and an address from the bedside and handed them to me. Tomorrow, go here. Give the key to the person waiting there. All right. All right. I checked the address several times. It led to a villa district. After heading out, I glanced at the door across the way. The place I'd lived in for almost 2 years. A thought struck me. After leaving last time, I hadn't taken my personal documents, my bank book, anything. Chris Albert wasn't home today. I could take a few minutes and get my things. Decision made, I opened the door and went in. I found what I needed in the bedside drawer and was about to leave when hurried footsteps suddenly sounded outside the door, panicked, like someone fleeing disaster. It couldn't be Sam Alexander. That meant Chris Albert was back. My heart jumped. Cursing my luck, I rushed to open the wardrobe. Just as I was about to hide, an even louder noise exploded at the front door. It sounded like someone kicking it in. Chaotic footsteps followed. Carefully, I peeked out through the bedroom door. What I saw made me freeze. Sam Alexander, dressed in a long black trench coat, stormed in, leading a group of men in Alliance military uniforms, guns in hand. Chris Albert was kicked to the floor by one of them, shattering the cups on the coffee table. Multiple gun barrels pointed at him. He raised his hands in a panic. I confess. I confess. Arrest me. Like a stray dog begging for mercy. Sam Alexander stood with one hand in his coat pocket, silent. Someone beside him pulled out handcuffs, stepping forward to restrain Chris Albert. He raised his right hand with a terrifying calm, the cold muzzle of his gun aimed directly at Chris Albert. Chris Albert screamed in terror. I confessed. You can't kill me. You don't. Before he could finish, Sam Alexander pulled the trigger. The silenced pistol emitted only faint, sharp cracks, blending eerily with the spasms of Chris Albert's body. Blood sprayed. My eyes widened in horror. I couldn't believe that the man who had kissed me so gently before leaving this morning was the same man now firing 12 consecutive rounds with a steady hand and a blank face, as if he were executing a rat on the street. Only when the gun clicked empty did he pause, frowning slightly at the weapon. Even the officers beside him froze in stunned silence. One of them stammered, "Deputy Commander, how are we supposed to write the report for this?" Sam Alexander glanced at him with complete composure. The suspect resisted arrest violently. For the safety of those present, I was forced to neutralize him on the spot. No one said another word. He scanned the room. Checked the place. See if he hid any. Then his gaze met mine, peeking through the narrow crack of the door. He stiffened. The others turned to follow his line of sight, spotted me, and immediately raised their weapons. "Stand down!" Sam Alexander snapped, raising a hand. That calm, executioner's face was now shaken, just barely. He rushed toward me. I'd followed the law for over 20 years. This was the first time I had ever witnessed such bloody violence in person. I stumbled back, overwhelmed. His expression changed instantly. He holstered the gun, stepping in to block my view of the mutilated corpse on the floor. "Tim Marshall," he said quickly, voice low and uneven, "I'm not a bad person. I would never hurt you. Please, don't be afraid of me." I stared at his face. A horrible, twisting pain gripped my heart. "So, from the start, you got close to me because of Chris Albert?" "No," he denied it instantly. His brow furrowed. "Do you really think I'd use my body just to catch some criminal?" I let out a long breath. The fear that Sam Alexander's kindness had been a lie, that he had only used me, that fear had eclipsed even seeing Chris Albert die right in front of me. Sam Alexander looked at my pale face, guilt darkening his eyes. Carefully, tentatively, he reached out and pulled me into his arms. Finally, the knot in my chest loosened. "Don't be scared," he whispered. "Please, give me a chance to explain." "Okay, Tim Marshall? Okay. Let's get out of here first, all right?" He reached up and shielded my eyes with his hand, guiding me away from the horror behind us. When the scent of blood hit my nose, I instinctively clutched his coat. "Close your eyes," he said softly. I did. And the next moment he scooped me into his arms and carried me away. We got into Sam Alexander's car. That was the moment I truly understood. He wasn't just anyone. He wasn't like me, just another average person. He was someone I could only look up to again and again. The man who smiled so gently at me was the same man who just pulled a trigger 12 times with a stone-cold face. He reached out to cup my cheek. That faint roughness on his fingertips. It came from holding a gun. I'd never noticed. "Your last name's Alexander," I said. "Are you that Alexander from the Alliance? From the Alexander family?" "Yeah." My fingers trembled. I couldn't believe I'd been wrapped up with someone like him for these past few months. "Tim Marshall, did you complete your mission?" His gaze enveloped me. There was agitation in it, which he forced down with a deep breath. "I promise, I'll never hide anything from you again. Please give me a chance to explain." I looked at him. The truth was, I already understood. I wasn't even angry. But I was afraid. Afraid that someone like me would never truly get to keep someone like him. He began explaining anyway. "I came here for work, to investigate Chris Albert. He was involved with an underground network, illegally trading pheromone secretions and producing addictive contraband. There wasn't enough solid evidence before. That's why we couldn't arrest him outright. But, Tim, my involvement with you had nothing to do with any of that." He gently cradled my face, eyes warm and sincere. "The moment I arrived, I noticed you. You were beautiful. Your cooking smelled amazing. You helped that old lady in the building find her lost dog. You smile sometimes when you talk to people, but you're always so careful. Like you're afraid the world will take away even that tiny bit of happiness. You made me feel like you were something fragile. I didn't want anything to break you. Not even me." Tears fell onto his hand. Then I launched myself into his arms, clinging to him. "I didn't mean to kill him like that," he murmured. "I'm sorry I scared you. I'll never do that in front of you again, okay?" Don't be afraid of me. Don't pull away. Please don't leave me. You promised you'd give me a name. I've been yours since I was 22. You were my first, for everything. People out there still call me a homewrecker. I'm going crazy with the injustice. The sadness in his voice was almost physical. That beautiful face I adored was twisted in a frown that made my heart ache. I couldn't help smoothing it out, trying to soothe him. I'm sorry. It's my fault. His eyes turned red. 2 tears fell down his cheeks. And at that moment, nothing else mattered to me. I would give him anything he asked for. Even my life, if he wanted it. So now that your husband's dead, he asked softly, can I be your husband instead? I blinked. I wanted to ask if he truly meant to stay with someone like me, a nobody, an ordinary omega. But he didn't give me the chance. His lips quivered. His eyes welled again. I panicked and threw my arms around him. Yes. But, husband. He kissed the corner of my mouth, the tears gone as quickly as they came. I'm taking you home. Home. But, did you bring the key I gave you? I nodded. Yeah. He drove me to the address from the envelope. A trail of red roses stretched from the gate across the front lawn. At the center, surrounded by blossoms, stood a door. The key was in my hand, like it was urging me to open the door to my own happiness. With Sam Alexander beside me, we turned the key together. Just like the turning of fate's gears. I held my breath and pushed the door open. The sunset spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Meng Meng came bounding toward me, tail wagging like crazy. Sam Alexander held my hand and turned to introduce me to the people inside. This is my partner, he said, and the other master of this house. Every gaze that landed on me was kind. They smiled. Tears fell from my eyes. Sam Alexander leaned down to kiss them away. Tim Marshall, he said, from now on, you'll never have to be cautious to feel joy. As long as I'm here, no one can take your happiness. Not even fate itself. And if one day you... His finger pressed gently to my lips. There will never be a day like that. I will never forget what it felt like, how desperately I wanted to have you, how deeply I wanted to protect you. That feeling taught me how to cherish you. And I will never, ever let go. Tim Marshall, you are the most delicate treasure in my life. I will not let you break. I want you to be happy. I looked at him. Tears fell like rain, collecting in his palm. He frowned. Why are you crying again? I hugged my guardian tight, so tight I wanted to press him into my heart. Because I'm happy. So happy. The end.
Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.